It is 11 o'clock, hour number 2 at three-man front. Keelan Russell named the starting quarterback at the University of Alabama. Kalen DeBoer will meet with the media coming up in about 20 to 25 minutes. Hope to bring you some of that audio. 12 noon, we will carry live the Alex Golesh press conference. This is mock game week for the Auburn Tigers. We already know who the starting quarterback is for Auburn. Let's go live because it's a very fluid situation. I appreciate Matt Moscona. A very busy time of the year, needless to say. He joins us from ESPN Radio down in Baton Rouge. First off, Matt, happy football season, and my goodness gracious, you guys have had a wealth of information and content over the course of the last month or so.
Last month? Bruh.
Well.
I mean, just take it back. Take it back to the day Brian Kelly got fired. I feel like I've just been living in an alternate reality. But I always say, man, it's never boring here. Like, people say, you ever leave Baton Rouge, go to Big Mark? Why? I got this real-life soap opera every day I cover. It's incredible.
And you know what, Matt? You don't have to go cover an NFL team down the road in New Orleans because you got one in Baton Rouge now.
Got a couple guys. I mean, everybody's getting paid now, but now in a literal sense, you know, you got a couple NFL guys.
Was it more the unexpected under Coach O when he was the head coach? Did you get more of that on the day-to-day than you did with Lane?
No, I think Lane is just a different ecosystem altogether, as I've learned. He's a famous football coach. He transcends the sport. Like, there's people outside that don't give a rip about football that know who he is, right? So it's and then he's a very, I mean, I'm sure y'all covered him when he was there at Bama.
Yeah.
But he's just a very bright, like, he's just a smart guy that thinks 3 and 4 steps ahead of everybody else. I would almost describe him as cunning, but it's odd because he's not very personable. So you don't ever get like the warm and fuzzy or like the salesman that a lot of head coaches are that make you feel good, that they turn on in recruiting. He's way more transactional. So it's just different. To steal his phrase, it's just different.
All right, so I thought you did an incredible job last night. I was watching your Locked on LSU podcast. The way that you laid out, there's 2 big stories with this whole Dae'Quan Wright situation. If you could, in the best way possible for our audience, because I didn't want to butcher it last hour. I wanted you, since you were coming on, to kind of give everyone the 411 in regards to the situation, because I thought you laid it out beautifully on your podcast.
Yeah, I can try to give you sort of the abbreviated version
Sure.
here. So Dae'Quan Wright was a tight end at Ole Miss. He went undrafted, signed a UDFA contract with the Eagles. He was waived. A couple days later, he was picked up by the Browns. So he's been in training camp with the Browns. And apparently, Todd Monken, the Browns coach, said after their preseason game that Lane Kiffin had been in touch. He said, I think he joked. He said, like, I don't know if he was joking, actually. He said, I guess now I know why Lane Kiffin was calling. So Dae'Quan Wright was one of the players involved in the Louisiana court case last week. There were 16 football players and 33 athletes total that filed for a temporary restraining order to be able to regain their eligibility. So Dae'Quan Wright was one of them. Naturally, after being waived by the Browns, he'll clear waivers, and then he'll join the LSU football team. There's 2 components of it. There's the, like, how is this possible, and then why does it make sense? The why it makes sense for LSU is pretty obvious. They don't have a tight end, a traditional tight end. Trez Green is amazing, but, guys, he's a receiver. He's not a tight end. Dae'Quan Wright's a 6'4", 255-pound guy who had 4 years of major college experience and had nearly 700 receiving yards in this offense a year ago. So that makes sense, that the plug-and-play nature of that component in the offense. The how it's possible, I think, this is what maybe many people don't understand about the new 5 for 5, because I'm learning. So the NCAA, I think most of us know, recently passed a new eligibility model. So every player will have 5 years to play 5. There's no more red shirts. There's no more gray shirts. There's no more medical red shirts. Everybody has 5 years to play 5. Well, that goes into effect for 27. So the current fifth-year seniors, the class of 22 guys who redshirted, get their extra year. The only group that it negatively affected were the class of 2022 signees who played 4 seasons in 4 years. So basically, all the guys that were seniors in last football season ends, they're told you don't have any eligibility anymore. Well, the NCAA changes the eligibility structure, and technically, those guys like Dae'Quan Wright now do have eligibility. However, because they were already in the NFL, they're ineligible to come back. So that's why they've had the class action lawsuits, all these guys trying to say, wait a minute, had we known at the end of last season that we were going to have eligibility, like we would never have left. We would have stayed in college. And so you have this very small subsect of class of 2022 guys that are trying to fight their way back in. And the Louisiana TRO is probably the highest profile guys, but there have been 18 different cases involving over 200 student athletes. And as I understand it, today, expect there to be, today and this week, a flood of more, as more guys from the class of 2022 are going to get cut or waived from NFL rosters and are going to try to migrate back.
Matt, I asked this question to Pat because I just don't know. What if LSU had a need during the season? Let's just say we're going into the Ole Miss week, the week of September the 19th, at tight end. Could they feasibly do the same thing?
So no, because as much as we may roll our eyes and laugh at this, you still have to be enrolled in school. So LSU starts classes today. The ad drop date is it's the 2nd. I think that's next Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it is. So like you would have to be enrolled in school, obviously, to be eligible by that point. So you couldn't just in October pop up and add someone to your roster. They would have to be enrolled in school.
Okay. And there's another question about, I guess, the way that the term breaks down on the particular campus, because if this is a December term that ends and then you have January, then you have the playoffs that you're thinking about. I'm just thinking of the unforeseen, that if somebody tries to implement this during the season, we get the chaos that broke out like with Dae'Quan during the season.
Yeah. The Dae'Quan example is a good one because I don't assume that he was enrolled at Alabama at the time. But again, I don't really know what the timeline was. Like, was that December? Was that January? That might have fallen.
It was in
during
January.
intersession. I genuinely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that may have been at the start of the semester where the timing actually worked.
Right.
So in this instance, it wouldn't necessarily work out that way. I mean, we could all make some certain assumptions that they'd find a way to get a waiver or something from the admissions office. I genuinely don't know the answer to how that would go, but in a very sort of structural sense, like you still have to be enrolled in school, and the ad drop date is the 2nd, which, by the way, guys, consider it this way. Like all those guys who are going to play their final preseason game coming up this weekend, and then NFL rosters are going to get cut, those guys aren't going to wait until a week from today to start the court process. Anyone who might see themselves potentially coming back are probably going to file for those TROs this week. So as I understand it, expect a flood of more lawsuits this week, not only in Louisiana, but like across the country, from a lot of former student athletes who might try to come back.
All right, so here's my next question. So attorneys argue that the Louisiana ruling enjoins the SEC's intra-conference transfer restrictions. So I know you said last time on the podcast, first things first, LSU has to get Wright on campus, get him enrolled. And then the next part of this is, what does the SEC do, if anything? What if the SEC comes back and says, nope, can't have that happen. He was technically at Ole Miss, not intra-conference. What would LSU be willing to do at that point in time if the SEC says this is a no-go?
Well, I'm sure I don't want to speak for the administration or the coaching staff, but my guess is, and it wouldn't necessarily be LSU, it would be the student athlete. Right now, LSU would obviously be guiding them, but I'm sure they would go to court. But where you started, I think, is probably correct, and it's the assumption that Roe would encompass not only NCAA rule, but I would assume also SEC rule. Now,
Right.
That's an assumption on my part, and I'm certain that's what the. Sorry, guys, my CarPlay picked up. I'm certain that's what the attorneys would argue, but I don't know what a judge would say. I find it hard to believe that a judge in Louisiana or any of these state courts will overturn their own decision on appeal. Think Trinidad Chambliss. The NCAA went to state court to appeal that ruling, and you had a Mississippi judge literally crying while reading the ruling. It's hard to imagine any judge doing anything other than replicating that.
Well, as long as he doesn't go to the Bediako judge, because Bediako originally got a
Yeah,
TRO
right.
and then came back and lost, or Joey Aguilar lost in
Good
Knox
point.
County.
Yeah, good
So
point.
very interesting. My next question, and you talked about it last night on the podcast, in regards to the roster, because people forget now that we have roster limitations because of the House settlement. So I'm curious what happens now, because you mentioned that the potential is there for LSU to add up to 6 players. Those are 6 players that were not on the roster once fall camp started. So what happens to the roster size and those players that would
Yeah.
be on the outside looking in?
Yeah, so what we talked about was obviously they've already added junior Tuihalamaka as an edge from Notre Dame, who was not in an NFL camp. He just was not with anyone. Now we hear about Dae'Quan Wright. Xavier Harris, the defensive lineman from Ole Miss, I'm told LSU leads there. I know they have interest. Well, certainly Jack Pyburn, the former LSU edge, who I do think will be back at LSU next Saturday. He's currently with the Bucks. And then I know they would love to add a cornerback. That would be 5, and then I believe they would add a depth piece at quarterback as well if the right person came available, as they might be sort of tilling some soil there. So that's the 6 we mentioned. But then again, you never know, guys. Like, what happens if there's a receiver who comes available with a TRO and it makes a lot of sense and they could add a dynamic player? Like, you might do that. I mean, it's sort of like when you've crossed that line, then you're willing to do whatever it takes to bolster your roster if there's someone available. Now, as far as how the roster numbers work, I've asked for 2 weeks, try to get a very specific, I've tried to nail down a very specific number, like how many spots do you have? And everyone to a person that I ask just keeps giving me this, it's complicated, hard to know for sure sort of answer. The closest I got to getting an answer was like 1, maybe 2. But I was also told by a staff member this weekend that they will make it work however they have to if they have a chance to make their roster better, which means, yes, they would cut players if they have to. As ugly and as icky as that sounds, I think that's what would have to happen. They'd cut from the bottom if it came to adding players that would make them better.
Hanging out with Matt Moscona, talking LSU SEC here on 3-Man Front and on the Higginbotham Hotline. As far as SEC camp, the football on the field, what you've seen, what you're hearing offensively, what kind of reviews are we getting outside of the tight end position? Who is standing out?
Yeah, they scrimmaged on Saturday in Tiger Stadium, and I'll give it a plug. I did a full report on both my Locked On LSU podcast and written over at LouisianaSports.net if anyone's interested. But we didn't get to watch, but I did talk to I think 7 people who were there, and so I was able to cobble together a lot of notes from it. And the big takeaway is Sam Leavitt. People continuously gush about him, the arm strength, the ability in the open field to pull away from defenders when he takes off and runs, the accuracy, fitting balls into tight windows. I mean, it's guys like when we watch him in spring. Remember, Leavitt didn't participate because he was coming off the list, Frank. And the offense was not good in spring objectively. I mean, there was one scrimmage that we got to watch in Tiger Stadium. The media got to watch the whole scrimmage. And the offense had 10 possessions, and they threw 5 interceptions, lost a fumble, and missed a field goal. I mean, it was awful. And it just sounds like a 180. I mean, you need the engine to make that thing go, and Sam Leavitt apparently is playing like the guy they paid for. And if you're going to spend what LSU spent to get him, you'd hope that's the guy you're getting. So, I mean, whatever this offense is going to be, whatever this team is going to be, guys, this year, whatever that ceiling is, if it's playoff, if it's championship, I don't know what that is, but whatever that ceiling is, they're only going to get there with Leavitt playing at his peak ability. And they got a good one. They got to keep him upright, keep him healthy. But sounds like Leavitt is so far everything that he's been billed to be.
I did want to ask you about one player. If you don't have a report, that's fine. But he played here locally, got to cover him in high school. Very talented wide receiver, Corey Barber from here in Alabama.
Yeah.
I see that he's in the rotation. I know that it can be different, especially with a wide receiver room and how many guys that rotate and play. Have you heard anything you can report on the local product?
Yeah. Yeah, Corey was the guy that flipped as soon as Lane took the LSU job, and they love him. I mean, I'm sure you know Landrum, he could flat fly.
Yes.
And he's running with the 2s right now. And the thing that may serve Corey well is the fact that Lane has said he wants 4, 5, 6 receivers. Now, I don't think Corey right now is in that first 4, 5, 6, but a lot can change with depth as as the season goes along. That's one thing Lane wanted. He is working as a return specialist as well. Like he's getting reps kick and punt return. So I have a feeling like he won't. I don't think you see him get a massive amount of touches in his freshman year, but I do think they're going to find ways to get him involved at various points throughout the season.
He's just a guy that he's got a nose and a knack for winning. Just one of those players. Just finds a way. So that's good to hear. Certainly. We appreciate it.
Matt, I know you're busy, man. I know Lane is about to meet with you guys. Thank you for carving out a couple minutes with us to explain this ongoing and fluid situation with not only LSU, but everything else going on in college football. Hope to catch up again very soon, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep. Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you so much. That's Matt Moscona, ESPN Radio down in Baton Rouge. He was on the Higginbotham Hotline. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Well, we finally got some rain back at our house this weekend. Hopefully, we're going to be getting some more, and we don't mind the rain anymore because we got a new roof from our friends at Noto Roofing. Locally owned and operated Noto Roofing, they can take care of you, whether it's Sammy or Matt Noto. I grew up with these fellas. You can take care of them, or if it's Chris, their general field superintendent. When you give them a call and they're offering free roof inspections to all of our Great Jocks listeners, you give them a call, 205-848-2299. Chris, one of their talented representatives, come out to your home place of business. They'll walk the roof and see if you've got any damage. In our case, we had hail damage, and I asked them, I said, hey, will you get with the insurance company? Went through that process. They made it seamless, and the insurance company said, yeah, we're going to replace the roof. And I only get the new roof with the shingles, the Onyx Black, but we also got new decking, new ridge vents. Couldn't be happier. They did everything that they said they were going to do. Noto Roofing, notoroofing.com, N-O-T-O roofing.com, or 205-848-2299. When they answer the phone, tell them Landrum from Jocks sent you.
We're waiting Kalen DeBoer. He should be making his way off the field. Practice has concluded down in Tuscaloosa. We'll hear from Kalen DeBoer hopefully later on this hour. Coming up at 12 noon, we will hear from Alex Golis, the head coach of the Auburn Tigers. Appreciate Matt Moscona joining us from ESPN Radio down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're awaiting Alabama to get off the practice field. Hope to have some comments or at least some information on what Kalen DeBoer had to say, because it's been very limited, obviously, after QB1 was announced over the weekend via Yay Alabama. So if you do not have a subscription to that, you have not been able to hear or see an extended version of what Kalen DeBoer had to say about the starting quarterback situation. One thing I do want to bring up that Matt was talking about, and I asked him about what LSU would do if the SEC were to come back and say, hey, we're not allowing this. This cannot happen. And then obviously then the player would go to court, very similar to what Charles Bediako did in regards, because Alabama was not officially on the board as suing the NCAA or doing anything in favor of Bediako. Bediako was having to do it by himself. But if the SEC were to come out, because they've already said it in a week ago in a memo, reminding everybody that this is not happening. So I guess at that point in time, LSU is going to get him on campus. And if the SEC puts out something official saying that can't happen, then that will be very interesting to see if this player goes to a local Louisiana judge and he overturns something from the SEC, which then would make pretty much the conference powerless in regards to upholding its own rules and regulations.
I would guess so. So who handles all of this at this point? Would this be compliance? Is this going to be athletic director? Is it all of the above that is going ahead and putting these steps in place, expecting that there's going to be some kind of recourse where they have to come back legally and sue somebody?
I imagine that the SEC and Donde Plymon, who is the chancellor of the University of Tennessee, who is over that committee, I was told last night that they were meeting over the weekend discussing this situation. And if they were to come out and they were to lower the hammer once again as a conference saying we cannot allow this to happen, then I'm sure LSU behind the scenes will tell Wright, get your attorney, go to work.
Because this falls under the way that they're interpreting it, the SEC, this falls under the interconference transfer rule.
Absolutely,
yeah.
100%.
Okay, and it should. But I'm guessing LSU in his camp, they're viewing it as, well, he left Ole Miss, then he was somewhere else.
I'm sure that's the semantics that they'll use.
And okay.
So yeah, LSU may agree with the conference and say, as a whole, okay, we'll put our name on a statement saying that we're against this. But then LSU could also say, hey, listen, we're for the student athlete. And if student athlete wants to sue the conference, that's on him. We're not paying for it. We're a conference member. I mean, we're in agreement with Georgia and Alabama and everybody else that's all ticked off about it. It's just funny how all of this that went on and all the things that was said about the University of Alabama during Charles Bediako, just not hearing a whole heck of a lot of people come after LSU.
But this goes back to, and you don't hear as much anymore, well, that school's tampering. Well, look at them over there tampering. They were tampering with our guy. Everybody's tampering. And so, yes, be careful of who you're throwing stones at, because you never know when it's your school that's going to be heaving the rocks.
And it just goes back to what Jerry Moorhead, who is the president of the University of Georgia, what he was saying at SEC spring meetings in Destin, that this has got to stop. And, the conference just needs to step up and do its own rules. But now its own rules are about to be questioned.
Hey, why don't we cover it in 111 pages that include a lot of stuff that probably shouldn't have been wasted writing down to put in that document when it's voted on, if it's voted on, if it passes.
I mean, LSU has agreed to be a member of the Southeastern Conference. And if the Southeastern Conference deems that this cannot happen, then you got to go along with it. If not, they can go join the Mountain West Conference with Texas Tech, because we saw what happened to Texas Tech when the majority of the Big 12 said, no, he's not playing. That's not happening. End of discussion. So hats off to Brett Yormark, because he had the chutzpah to basically say this ain't happening, and he got everybody on board. But meanwhile, it's been so quiet in the SEC. They sent out a memo a week ago. You just wonder if the conference is going to have enough guts to come out and stop LSU from doing something.
Remains to be seen. Do we get an affidavit?
I don't think he can get away with Greg Sankey not giving an affidavit on this one because this player will go directly at the SEC.
Well, it's also kind of funny because I don't think we talked about it, or we didn't talk about it very much last week, but you have that situation right now with LSU basketball, right, where they have the kid from St. John's, R.J. Lewis, who Greg Sankey did release an affidavit on that last week, just like the Bediako situation of, hey, this is wrong, this shouldn't be happening. So that happened with LSU basketball last week, but now this is going on with football right now, and I guess we're still waiting on that response.
Yeah, very much so.
But Will Wade, he's probably sitting there like, you kidding me?
I would love to get a copy of the phone records from the SEC office, just from the landlines. How many calls have gone to Baton Rouge since January? December. Actually, let's back it up. November, when all the Lane stuff was going down.
Now, I will say this. Dan Lanning is one of very few people that have come out vehemently opposed to what is going on and what potentially is going to happen at LSU. Just like a lot of people went crazy about Charles Bediako coming back and playing for Alabama. This is Dan Lanning yesterday about Dae'Quan Wright heading back potentially from the NFL to college.
I think there's a lot of negatives that are involved around this. One, once you go to the NFL, to me, you're in the NFL. You don't get the opportunity to come back. Two, most of us have built our rosters, and you have a limited roster limit now. So if you invited somebody back to your team, that means you're kicking somebody else off your team, right, to match your roster limits. I don't think that's fair to the players that worked all summer, all spring, and put themselves in position to be ready to work for a team. To have somebody come back. But ultimately, it used to be once you had an agent, or once you went and did the combine, or once you went to all those things qualified as you are no longer an amateur, you're a professional now, once you declared for the draft. So to let any of those players come back, fair or unfair to them, it's unfair to the sport. And I think it's unfair to the players that are on current teams, for those guys to be coming back.
Well, you heard what Matt Moscona said, that there will probably be 5 guys, I guess, that's considered the bottom of the LSU roster. They will be cut.
A tough day for those guys.
Then what are they going to do? I mean, there's no transfer portal. I mean, is there a transfer portal window open for guys that have been cut from a college football team?
I hope Lane hasn't done the fall camp token social media video where they take the lineman who's been working his butt off for 4 years and paying his way through school, and they surprise him with a scholarship. Oh, wait. Sorry. Yeah, we're going to have that back.
I bet what happens is that group of players will then band together and they will go to a court somewhere and they will get a ruling, unless LSU just does it themselves, that is, hey, we were supposed to be on this team. We're deserved or owed a certain amount of money. And if you don't want us to be on the team anymore, okay, we can't really do anything about that. But
well, and Matt also saying that he's hearing there's a slew of players that you're going to have more lawsuits that are coming out this week.
But the time frame is very tight because the drop ad for these schools, I know, which is hilarious.
It's so funny that
thinking that these are all student athletes.
Classes and the drop ad in enrollment could have, if you're against this kind of thing happening, could help prevent some of that.
Yeah. Something big is coming on September 2nd. DraftKings Game Day arrives with massive deals, exclusive deals, and an all-day celebration built for sports fans. The countdown has begun. All roads lead to game day. The DraftKings Sports app is now live in 50 states. That means Alabama, from Texas to California to Florida, every fan is in on the excitement. One app, every sport, all 50 states. DraftKings Game Day is yours. Remember the date, September 2nd. DraftKings Game Day is kickoff of a new season, a new era, and the biggest day in sports history. Get ready to celebrate. New DraftKings customers, sign up with code JOX945. Spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code JOX945 in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click-to-claim issued in non-withdrawable predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. Terms dkng.co/predictions promo. Nationwide based on sportsbook predictions and free-to-play sports contest availability. varies by state.
Quarterback decisions and races being decided across the SEC. We'll tell you some of those. They've been decided, who they are, next on Three Man Front.
Eleven 34, text line, phone line open 205-834-9450. At the top of the hour, we'll hear Alex Golesh. This is mock game week for the Auburn Tigers. They're going through everything this week. Like this is a normal game week, which includes hearing from Alex Golesh.
Yeah, starting quarterbacks being named around camp. Of course, Kalen DeBoer names Kalen Russell there at Alabama. Aaron Philo has been named by John Sumrall as a quarterback for the Florida Gators, transfer from Georgia Tech. KJ Jackson, Montgomery product, St. James product. He is going to be Ryan Silverfield, starting quarterback at Arkansas to begin the season. And then we got Faison Brandon there at Tennessee, who has been named the starting quarterback for Coach Josh Heupel. So,
and I saw this, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong on the text line. Do you know who the last true freshman SEC starting quarterback was, off the top of your head?
True freshman.
It's been a few years.
Was it Johnny? No.
Bo Nix.
It was Bo Nix. Okay.
2019. So it's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
Steve Sarkisian is meeting with the media down in Austin. They apparently did not have a very good scrimmage, the second scrimmage the other night, to the point to where there was a lot of talk about how bad Arch Manning was.
I was about to say there seemed to be a little bit of buzz over the weekend that maybe Arch wasn't having a great camp.
But didn't Cam Coleman go and snag every errant pass?
Well, I liked where oh man, was he on Coward's show maybe? But somebody asked him, Steve Sarkisian in an interview said, so that video Cam Coleman, don't tell me that Arch Manning's the one that threw that pass. And he's like, well, he was under pressure when he threw that ball, and that was a great catch by Cam, and it's like that's the throw that Arch Manning made.
He was under pressure.
Okay.
You couldn't see the pressure, but he had a middle-aged man running at him with his hands up and a whistle in his mouth. That's pressure.
Okay.
205-834-9450.
Since we've been talking about quarterbacks being named over the weekend, I accidentally came across the Cleveland Browns exhibition game over the weekend. And I saw one of the worst passes I think I've ever seen in the history of a quarterback. Did you see it? Deshaun Watson's pass?
Yes, I was also thinking of the interception that Jalen Milroe threw last night, but that one was really bad if you missed that one.
So Deshaun Watson.
Was it like throwing a wet towel?
I'll just have to show you during a break. It was bad. Then he threw another bad interception. I mean, it was not a good day for Deshaun Watson. The Cleveland fans were letting him hear it. And so afterwards, Deshaun Watson met with the media, and this is just take a listen to Deshaun Watson.
Man, I didn't have no reaction. I think the biggest thing is, I think you guys know too, and I think the whole world knows. It has nothing to do about the performance. It's a little bit personal than that. So I think it's a disrespectful thing. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep whatever I feel with me and my family internally on how I feel about that. And yeah, just move on.
But don't you think, Deshaun, that winning and playing better would eliminate some of that booing?
Last time I played on this field, I tore my Achilles. And that same fan base, they cheered when I got hurt. So does that have to do with, what does that have to do with anything about performance? When a person get hurt, especially for your own city, and they cheer.
Does any of that make you regret coming here?
No, I don't regret anything in my life. I think the Lord put me through situations for a reason. So I don't regret anything at all. But, I had different thoughts on how it was going to be. But, it is what it is. Sometimes, the tables turn. And I'm patient enough because I'm a child of God to, wait for that time to change. So I'm not tripping on it.
Not one single regret in life. Probably at least 27. I could think of.
Nobody's asking you to live in shame, but no regrets. And I hope it sharpened you. Sharpen that character, sharpen that heart, soften that heart.
It was funny how he said he was going to keep his personal feelings to himself, but he also wanted to point out to everybody that they booed him and cheered for him when he tore his Achilles.
Maybe it's because he's terrible at his job and he's also appears to be a terrible human being. Might be part of the reason for that. But hey, he got named the starting quarterback a few minutes ago.
When you say he had a bad day, when's the last time Deshaun Watson had a good day? Would that be pre-massage parlor?
Absolutely. When he was a member of the Houston Texans organization.
Golly, 205-834-9450.
That's one of the worst comments you're going to hear.
And how bad is Cleveland, because he is now your starting quarterback? I read where Shedeur Sanders, when he was told that Deshaun will start over him, that he had nothing but a smile on his face. And Sanders didn't say anything.
Because he knows Deshaun's not going to finish the season.
Oh, absolutely. Just speaking while we're on the Browns thing, I did see, I don't know if y'all saw any of it, Shedeur did like a 7-minute interview during the preseason game the other night after he was finished. He came back on the sideline. He was doing an interview in the middle of the game, if you just have 7 spare minutes in your free time this afternoon, it's absolutely worth listening to.
Okay. And 205-834-9450. A reaction on the Jocks text line. This one reads, guys, I distinctly remember 1 year ago, Conrad telling FSU Dave they had no chance. I'm sorry, but everything DeBoer has done has earned a healthy dose of skepticism from me. Let's pump the brakes on the Keelan anointment. They'll play every one of the games.
It's already been a year? Man. Well, they have no chance this year, so it's fine. I'll double down on that one.
This one reads, when my son signed his letter of intent with his college, he and the school were bound by his, air quotes, contract for 1 year. How does LSU make room for new players if existing players have signed letters of intent?
Maybe they honor their academic work, but you're not on the football team.
So here's my question.
You still get revenue share, even if it's not directly, what would be equal to revenue share?
I'm going to assume that the guys in this situation, right, they've already played 4 years. This is their 5th year. They probably already have a college degree. So you don't have to give them a scholarship, right? If you're LSU, they don't have to be a scholarship player on your roster because they already have a degree. They could be considered, what, a walk-on?
Preferred walk-on?
Well, there's no more walk-ons.
You just have scholarships.
Oh,
you
that's
just have
true.
limits,
That's
and you
true.
can do with the scholarships as you see.
Yeah, see, that's
You
the
fit.
deal.
True. So they're just members of the team that don't have a scholarship. And you just cut 6 other guys that aren't on scholarship, right?
And I'm sure LSU would just say, hey, look, we'll just like Alabama did with Bediako.
Yeah, we're going to pay you for your service, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, even when Bediako was deemed not eligible, Alabama said, we're going to take care of your school.
Right.
Yeah, I was just assuming these guys are already done with school because they've already had 4 years. So surely you've earned your degree. Right?
No, not some of these kids that are about to be cut.
Oh, them.
Now we're talking about the kids that are
Yeah,
going to be cut.
sorry.
I mean, those kids, that might be a freshman from
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
from Bossier City that, hey, got called in the office. Sorry, bud. Good luck in chemistry class. Stick around. We got high hopes for you next year.
Yeah, somebody asked, why would a guy stay on a practice squad in the NFL if he had a chance to go and make millions or $1 million to go back to college for one more year?
I mean, nobody is.
At this
I'm not
point-
throwing stones at those guys because it's about making money.
I mean,
It's
at
about
this
living
point,
your life.
you've been cut by one organization. You've linked up with another on the practice squad. There's no guarantee there. Heck yeah, you go running back to college.
So how about this? The Daily Mail is reporting that Ole Miss staff, they were so worried about Lane Kiffin stealing the program's secrets on his way out the door that Ole Miss called the FBI to check for bugging devices. The outgoing head coach even claimed that he was nearly run off the road by scorned Ole Miss fans. And now a program insider has revealed some stunning details about the exit. Speaking to the Assorted Crackers podcast, Walker Jones, who is the executive director of the Grove Collective, Ole Miss's exclusive NIL program, opened up about LSU's attempts to poach assistant coaches and staff members to join Kiffin. He described it as weeks and months of fending off LSU, claiming they were literally trying to burn Ole Miss to the ground. This is a direct quote. I guess that's what you do if you're the LSU head coach. You try to destroy your opponent, your rival. So I guess that's probably the way he went. Again, shame on me to think that he was going to do anything other than what he did. But we battled and we were able to hold on to the majority of our roster and players. What people don't realize, too, is half the staff was going to LSU. So we literally had to have 2 different text threads, 2 different staff meetings. We had to ask coaches to leave the room. It also went on to say, we actually had the FBI come through and walk the building for bugs and for everything. We knew kind of what was in Baton Rouge, and we knew how they operated.
Wow.
I remember getting on my knees and looking underneath the desk, like checking for, is there some sort of bug in my office?
But you know what that tells me? We know how they operated because they were here. We know their tricks. Yeah, we probably need to start sweeping for bugs, which opens my eyes to other potential things that.
I mean, if that was.
That's why I wonder if we're going to be limited on some of the stories that come out about Lane's time in Oxford because they're too incriminating for others. Or, yeah, we knew, we just turned a blind eye.
But now calling the FBI.
Yes.
To come check out. You and I did a lot of traveling this weekend, partner, all over the state of Alabama. And one thing was for sure, we had good air conditioning because the garage in Pelham makes sure that our air conditioners were A-OK, and they can as well for all of our listeners.
Yeah, you simply just go to thegarageinpelham.com. You can read the 5-star reviews for everyone who has ever had a car, truck, or SUV service there. But at the Garage in Pelham, Pat mentioned they got 4 new diagnostic machines to handle even the newest refrigerant when it comes to your AC. But they can quickly tell you if you're operating at a peak performance when it comes to that AC. And they can tell you, hey, this needs this, or let's look at this. That's what you're going to get there at the garage. And right now they got $25 off. You can save money if you're getting repairs done, if you're just simply setting the appointment and getting it looked at, Pat. The Garage in Pelham, that's where you want to go.
Yeah, and don't forget, this is a family-owned, locally owned garage. They serve Birmingham area since 2005, honest, trustworthy. They give you the dealership experience, and they're not going to upsell you on something. If they see something, they're going to be, hey, look, you got another problem here. Let's deal with this. But they're not a national brand that loves to do that to the customer. Thousands of satisfied customers, outstanding online reviews built on honesty, integrity, great customer service. And I know Landrum's looking at some right now that folks have posted.
Yeah, this one just from over the weekend. Olivia T. Her post was 5 stars, scheduled maintenance for my daughter's Lexus. It was done promptly and professionally. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, oil changes, brakes, alignments, tire rotations, balancing. We're telling you about the AC because it's so important this time of the year to make sure your AC is good to go. So head down to Pelham, the Garage in Pelham, or their website, Landrum.
Yeah, you simply just go to thegarageinpelham.com. You can find the coupons there. Robert, Richie, they're going to be there to greet you there in the lobby when you walk into the garage. If you see Bob, the owner, tell him thank you. He's a wonderful human being that gives back to the community.
The Garage in Pelham, thegarageinpelham.com. Coming up at the top of the hour, Alex Golish press conference live from the plains of Auburn. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks. 11:52. Keelan Russell named the starting quarterback for the University of Alabama over the weekend. I was told the last week or so he has just had an incredible camp. Not that Austin Mack didn't have a good camp. It just Keelan Russell was better, more explosive with plays with his legs. He was on target. Offensive line has improved. So a lot of people very upbeat about this Alabama offense as they get ready for East Carolina. The voice of the East Carolina Pirates will be one of our guests tomorrow here on the program. We'll get his thoughts on the Pirates, and that's one of these teams in the American Conference. They're in the upper tier of the American Conference. He's also the sideline reporter for the Carolina Panthers. So we'll talk to him about Bryce Young.
I would venture to guess, let's just say outside of the service academies in the American Conference, South Florida being one, Memphis, and I would put East Carolina in that top tier when it comes to NIL, collective support, and having that booster help.
Yeah. Kalen DeBoer is meeting with the media right now and understand that Alabama defensive lineman Jeremiah Beeman suffered an injury Sunday at practice. DeBoer says they have an idea of the injury, but he wants to wait to comment until there is a complete understanding.
Man, I hate that for that guy. That's been his misfortune at Alabama, is he's had all the talent in the world, but he just injury prone, man. I hate that for him.
Yep. New guys like that just watch their careers growing up, guys that were can't miss, but for whatever reason just couldn't get their bodies to cooperate. Well, cooperation, that's what you want with trusted and local partners. That's what you're going to get with our friends at EcoView Windows. Locally owned Becky Jackson. She's the owner. Her husband and son, they're a part of the EcoView team. Becky's going to take care of you. In fact, they're pledging to save you at least 35% on your energy cost. That's right, 35% savings in the first 12 months with EcoView if you replace all the windows in your home. And just check out the website. Go to ecoviewwindows.com. Full selection, different varieties of windows, anything from the economy grade all the way to the glamorous. You can find them there. But more than anything, just know they're folks that are going to take care of you. And right now, EcoView is offering free estimates to all of our great Jocks listeners. 205-564-8480. 205-564-8480. Or schedule and go to ecoviewwindows.com. When Becky or someone there answers the phone, tell them Landrum from Three Man Front sent you.
Matt Zenitz from CBS Sports, he is reporting that former Georgia safety Ja'Cory Thomas is planning to file a lawsuit to challenge his eligibility. He wants to come back and play another year of football. He was in training camp here recently, and actually it was mini camp with the Carolina Panthers. He was a starter at Georgia in 2025. He recorded 45 tackles, a tackle for loss, and a sack. So he is now going to file. Now, I'm just curious where he would end up and if he were to go to another SEC school.
Please tell me he tries to go to LSU.
What happens? Maybe that's why Lane Kiffin pushed back his press conference today. Maybe he was waiting for...
He was doing a virtual walkthrough tour?
He was waiting on Ja'Cory Thomas and his lawsuit.